My parents gave everything to my brother. Years later, they showed up at my door, asking for help. Growing up, I always knew where I stood in the family. My older brother Ryan was the golden child. I was just there. When Ryan got a B, my parents blamed the teacher. When I got an A, they asked why it wasn't an A+. When Ryan wanted a gaming PC, he got one. When I needed money for a school trip, I was told to stop asking for handouts. At first, I thought all families were like this. Then I got older and realized something. They genuinely loved him more. When I was 16, my parents spent nearly all of their savings helping Ryan buy a car. A few months later, I needed money for college application fees. My dad looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're smart. Figure it out yourself." That sentence changed my life. I stopped expecting anything from them. No support, no encouragement, nothing. I worked part-time jobs, tutored students, delivered food, saved every dollar I could. Eventually, I earned a scholarship and left home. The day I moved out, my mother hugged Ryan for 10 minutes. She shook my hand. A handshake. Like I was a coworker leaving the office. The next 10 years were hard. There were nights I slept in my car, weeks when instant noodles were my entire diet. But slowly, things improved. I started a small software business, then another, then a third. One project exploded in popularity. Suddenly, the company was making more money in a month than I used to earn in a year. For the first time in my life, I wasn't struggling. I bought a house, paid off my debts, built the life I'd dreamed about as a kid. And through all of it, my parents barely called. Meanwhile, Ryan's life was falling apart. He jumped from job to job, spent money as fast as he earned it. Whenever something went wrong, my parents bailed him out, again and again and again, until they couldn't anymore. One Saturday morning, my doorbell rang. I opened the door. There they were, Mom, Dad, Ryan, all standing on my porch. The first family visit I'd had in nearly 5 years. I already knew this wasn't a social call. We sat down in the living room. After a few minutes of awkward small talk, my dad got to the point. "Ryan's going through a difficult time." Of course he was. "He just needs a little help getting back on his feet." I asked how much. Ryan looked at the floor. My father cleared his throat. "Around $200,000. I nearly laughed. 200,000. For someone who hadn't called me on my birthday in years. For someone who spent most of his life mocking me. For parents who treated me like an afterthought. They actually expected me to write a check. We're family. The moment she said those words, I felt something click. Family. Interesting. Because I remembered every time family apparently didn't matter. When I needed help. When I needed support. When I needed parents. I stood up and walked to my office. They looked hopeful. Probably thought I was getting my checkbook. Instead, I returned with a small folder. Inside were copies of old documents. Scholarship forms, student loan records, pay stubs from my teenage jobs. Everything I'd needed because nobody helped me. I placed them on the table. "You told me to figure it out myself." Silence. So I did. Nobody spoke. Now Ryan can do the same. My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father looked furious. Ryan looked embarrassed. But for once, none of that mattered. Because for years, I had carried the weight of trying to earn their approval. And in that moment, I finally realized something. I didn't need it. My father stood up. "After everything we've done for you?" I almost laughed. After everything? What exactly had they done? Given me a handshake when I left home, ignored my achievements, forgotten birthdays, compared me to Ryan for 20 years? I walked them to the door. Before leaving, my mother turned around. "So that's it? You're abandoning your family?" I looked at all three of them. Then I repeated the same sentence my father had given me years ago. The sentence that built my entire future. "You're adults. Figure it out yourselves." Nobody said a word. They left. And that was the last time I saw them. A year later, I heard Ryan had finally gotten a stable job. My parents downsized their house. Things were difficult for them. But they survived, just like I did. Without help. Without special treatment. Without someone rescuing them. And honestly, the best revenge wasn't saying no. The best revenge was proving that the child they ignored ended up becoming the strongest one in the family.